Well, hello and welcome. We're at season 3, episode 122, doing our first ever Guns N' Roses misheard song lyric. The misheard song lyric is, "Take me down to the very last city." And the correct lyrics is, "Take me down to Paradise City." This is our last podcast for 2021, and then we'll ring in 2022 in next week's podcast. So this is, I can't believe, the last one for 2021. So it's gone quickly, right? So let's talk about the song, a little about video, possibly about, did Axl Rose do any kind of surgical procedures? All that. But when I've heard this song many times, and when it came out, I really thought they were singing Very Last City. It does sound like it, although of course the song title is Paradise City. It makes me chuckle because when I went on the internet to do my research, some people thought the misheard song lyric in some cases was "Take me down to Prairie City" or Prairie Dog City, which I thought was hilarious, but I actually hear more Very Last City. All right, so let's talk about the song. So Paradise City is a song by the American rock group band called Guns N' Roses, and it was featured on their debut album called Appetite for Destruction way back in 1987. Wow. And it was released as a single in January of 1989. And it's the only song on the album to feature a synthesizer. I did not know that. So how did the song do? Well, the song peaked at number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100, becoming the band's third single to reach the top 10, and number 6 on the UK singles chart. It also topped the Irish singles chart, their first of 3 singles to do so. So Guns N' Roses, who are they? If you have lived under a rock for many years, or so young you don't know who they are, which there are people like that now. All right, so Guns N' Roses is an American hard rock band from LA, California, formed back in 1985. When they signed to Geffen Records in 1986, the band actually consists of these original members. So Axl Rose, lead singer, lead guitarist Slash, rhythm guitarist Izzy Stradlin, bassist Duff McKagan, and let's see here, it looks like, drummer Steven Adler. And now the current lineup today still consists of Axl Rose, Slash, McKagan, now guitarist Richard Fortus, drummer Frank Ferrer, and keyboardist Dizzy Reed and Melissa Reese, okay? Guns N' Roses' debut album, Appetite for Destruction, back in '87, reached number 1 in the Billboard 200 a year after its release, on the strengths of the top 10 singles, Welcome to the Jungle, Welcome to the Jungle, remember that one? Paradise City, Sweet Child of Mine, which I also didn't realize is the only single of the band to reach number 1 in the Billboard Hot 100. I thought they hit number 1 with Welcome to the Jungle. Others is just Sweet Child O' Mine, not of, O' Mine. The album has sold approximately about 30 million copies worldwide, including 18 million units in the US, make it the country's best-selling debut album and 11th best-selling album. Their next album, GNR Lies, back in 1988, reached number 2 on the Billboard 200, sold 10 million copies worldwide, including 5 million in the US, and included the top 5 hit Patience, Use Your Illusion, and Use Your Illusion 2, recording at the same time and released in 1991, which debuted at number 2 and number 1 on the Billboard 200 and had sold a combined 35 million copies worldwide, including 14 million units in the US. Remember, this is the time back then when it was not downloads. You had to literally drive to the record store and purchase it. So it's amazing that 14 units were sold. The Illusion albums included the lead singer You Could Be Mine, covers of Live and Let Die, originally from the Beatles for the movie soundtrack of Live and Let Die, James Bond movie, I think back in the 70s, I believe, and Knockin' on Heaven's Door, and a trilogy of ballads called Don't Cry, November Rain, and Estranged, which featured, they say, notably high-budget music videos. I remember that. The records were supported by the Use Your Illusion Tour, a world tour that lasted from 1991 to 1993, and the covers album, The Spaghetti Incident, in 1993, was the last studio album to feature Slash and McKagan before their initial departure. Okay. Work on a follow-up album stalled due to creative differences. That's what they usually say when people don't get along between the band members. And by 1998, only Axl Rose and Reed remained from the Illusion era lineup. Rose wanted to expand the band's sound with more industrial and electronic elements. enrolled in eclectic lineup of musicians, including punk bassist Tommy Stinson, virtuoso guitarist Buckethead, synth player Chris Pittman, because now we know in this song they actually use synthesizer, and several touring members from Nine Inch Nails, among others. And then after a decade of work, Guns N' Roses' long-awaited sixth studio album, Chinese Democracy, that came out in 2008, was released, featuring the title track as lead single. Did you know that at an estimated $14 million in production costs, it's the most expensive rock album in history? I would have thought now in this world of every million surpass that, but it says it is still most expensive rock album. It debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200, but undersold industry expectations despite having a lot of positive critical reception. And then following the expansive Chinese Democracy tour, Slash and McKagan rejoined the band in 2016 for the Not in This Lifetime tour, which became the third highest grossing concert tour on record, grossing over $584 million by its conclusion in 2019. That's pretty amazing. In the early years, the band, what they call hedonism, and rebelliousness drew comparison to the early Rolling Stones and earned them the nickname the most dangerous band in the world. Did not know that about Guns N' Roses. It also had another did you know, the band's classic lineup, along with later members Reed and drummer Matt Sorum, was inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2012 in their first year of eligibility. So this means a lot because other bands that I've mentioned several episodes ago, like Chic, are still not inducted. Like Chic, I guess, by 2017, was nominated a record 11 times, still not inducted. And then you have Guns N' Roses on their first, induction year of eligibility in 2012, and they're inducted. Now, the interesting thing about this was Rose was not having any of it. I guess in 2012, he heard that they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and as a member of Guns N' Roses, though, he declined to attend the event and actually requested exclusion from the hall. So interesting, okay. And then Guns N' Roses since then has sold more than 100 million records worldwide, including 45 million in the United States, making them one of the best-selling acts in history. Okay, so what was the song about, other than I thought it was Very Last City? Well, Guns N' Roses lead guitarist Slash stated the song was written in the back of a rental van. This is so rock and roll. As they were on their way back from playing a gig in San Francisco with the band Rock and Riders. There's another N. They like this N in the middle. Well, did you know he said that the band was drinking, not surprised, and playing acoustic guitars when he came up with the intro. Duff McKagan and Izzy Stradlin started playing along. Slash started humming a melody when Axl Rose, "Take me down to Paradise City." And then Slash chimed in with, "Where the grass is green and the girls are pretty." Rose sang the first line again, where Slash shouted out, "Where the girls are fat and they got big titties." Well, that changes it, all right? Rose finished with "Take Me Home," or "Take me home." And then Slash referred his second line, about the big titties, but the rest of the band felt differently, amazingly, especially the way this band lived their life. He was outvoted, and they used the first line. The band then expanded upon the rest of the lyrics in rounds. Finally, Slash wrapped up by coming up with the heavy riff that drives the song with a lot of guitar. And then, not surprised, because the way we now know how the song was conceived, it is stated that Paradise City is Slash's favorite Guns N' Roses song of all time. All right. So during a 1998 interview, Rose told Hit Parader magazine that the verses were more about being in the jungle. The chorus is like being back in the Midwest or somewhere. I didn't realize the Midwest and the jungle had so much in common. This song was often used on the band's show closing song during the Appetite for Destruction tour, Use Your Illusion tour, and Chinese Democracy tour, which I can see it's a great way to end it, right? And in the last 2 minutes of the song, it changes to double time. The chorus is repeated several times while Slash plays a guitar solo in the background. And then guitarist Andy McCoy had said that the song is copied from several riffs written by his band Hanoi Rocks. Okay. He said that the chorus is just a slower version of the riff Lost in the City. Axl Rose is often cited Hanoi, seen in the music video for Paradise City. The style of the main, Axl Rose is often cited Hanoi Rocks as Guns N' Roses' biggest influence, okay? Hanoi Rocks' original rhythm guitarist Nasty Suicide can also be seen in the music video for Paradise City. The style of the main riff of the Paradise City involved an ascending chromatic riff for all you music geeks. has also been used by many former Guns N' Roses members in new projects. This also can be seen in Izzy Stradlin's Bomb and Velvet Revolver's Do It for the Kids. According to Tracy Guns of LA Guns and former member of Guns N' Roses, the riff was influenced by the Black Sabbath song Zero, the Hero from the Born Again album. Well, you know, it just one begats and begats and begats, right? Musically, the song has been described as glam metal, hard rock, and heavy metal. Okay, have you seen the music video? Because I haven't since when it came out in the 80s. It's pretty simple. No fancy at this point later on with November Rain, like they say in the millions. It starts in black and white and then to color and cuts back to black and white. And it just shows the band behind the scenes doing sound checks at a stadium, then cuts to footage of them actually in concert, to signing autographs with fans, shots of fans. There's also shots of the band that look like they're about to get on a plane to Britain because you assume they're there because people, there's one fan clad in the Union Jack flag, and then there's an all-access pass that Axel shows off, and it's, you know, it has a European verbiage, you know, so it surmises to me that the video is of many different stadiums that they're performed in, not only in the US. So let's get to what everyone's been talking about. Did Axl Rose have a facelift of some sort? There's been rumors throughout that he's gone under the knife since his facial features seem to be altered considerably. I found many articles speculating that he's done Botox, mainly due to no wrinkles around his eyes. I've seen many before and after pictures. There's one of him, I know he's in a lot of like dreads or cornrows, where he almost looks like Mark McGrath, the former lead singer of Sugar Ray, which is like, okay, that's weird. Well, who is Mr. Axl Rose, or W. Axl Rose? He was born William Bruce Rose Jr., so he's a junior. Born February 6, 1962. He's an American musician, singer, songwriter, and record producer. He's also, of course, being best known for his, being the lead vocalist and lyricist for Guns N' Roses. And it's also been the band's sole constant member since their inception in 1985. That was also an aha doing this research. He also toured with Australian rock band AC/DC, and then deputizing for Brian Johnson after Johnson's hearing loss in 2016. Okay, Rose has been named one of the greatest singers of all time by various media outlets, including Rolling Stone and Enemy. Okay, I'm going to have to disagree there. I mean, there are many other rock singers I could say that are a little better than he. I mean, he definitely did have a range, but like Freddie Mercury and others, come on. Okay, but again, this is very, it's what you know, what everyone's opinions are, and everyone has an opinion, right? He was born and raised in Lafayette, Indiana, and moved in the early 80s to LA, where he became active in the local hard rock scene and joined several bands, including Hollywood Rose and LA Guns. And then in 1985, he co-founded Guns N' Roses, with whom he had great success, and as I shared earlier, recognition in the 80s and early 90s. And of course, their first album, Appetite for Destruction, like I mentioned earlier in 87, had sold in excess of 30 million copies worldwide. And then after 1994, following the conclusion of a 2.5-year Use Your Illusion tour, Rose disappeared from public life for several years while the band, you know, pretty much disbanded due to personal and musical creative differences, quote unquote. And then he resurfaced, and that's when everyone's like, whoa, he doesn't look like him. What happened? It's almost like the Kenny Rogers look when he did do some under the knife things. It's like, that does not look like Kenny Rogers. And then as its sole remaining original member, he was able to continue working under the Guns N' Roses banner because he's a smart guy. He had legally obtained the band name originally. So then in 2001, he resurfaced with a new line of Guns N' Roses at Rock in Rio #3 and played periodic concert tours. And that's when people were like, whoa, why does he look different? And interesting, though, that the concert tours were promoting the long-delayed Chinese democracy that he did back in 2008, which undersold, as we now know. And then in 2016, the same year as he toured with AC/DC, Rose partially reunited the classic lineup of Guns N' Roses and has since toured the world as part of Not in This Lifetime tour. So they're still making music. I think I've seen him just recently. I had no idea that he actually was smart enough to get the band name and get it so he can reuse it regardless of who's, you know, in and out of the band. And we still don't know if he really did have any kind of under the knife or Botox or what have you, but that's the speculation. And, you know, hey, whatever float your boat, Axl Rose, aka William Bruce Rose Jr. I did a quick search of what his net worth. It showed he's in the 200 million. He's not hurting. He's still doing great. So keep rocking on. And if you have any great suggestions like this, Paradise City or down to the very last city, let me know. You can send it to misheard. That's MISSHEARD songs@gmail.com. And we'd love to give you a shout out, talk about it, or maybe have you come as a guest if you feel comfortable, if you can be here, physically here in Oregon of the United States, or we can do a thing over the phone. So let me know. Well, this again is the last episode for 2021. Hopefully it was a good year, even though everyone was hunkering down. And I have faith and prosperity and good health to all you listeners for 2022. Keep saying those songs wrong. Bye.